Hello to everyone here today. I'm Ramsika, and it is my pleasure to be your host for today's educational session, which is a 2-day webinar conducted by Headway Learning Solutions in collaboration with the American Center Colombo. We would like to invite our participants to actively participate during the session and use the chat to raise any questions you may have during the session. We have gathered to explore a concept that has not only reshaped economics but has also been the driving force behind countless innovations and improvements in our world: entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is more than just a buzzword. It is a force of change, hope, and cornerstone of economic growth. It holds immense importance in our global landscapes, society, and lives now more than ever before. I would like to invite you to dive into why entrepreneurship matters. It is my pleasure to introduce our facilitator, Mr. Jehan Vijay Singha, a highly growth-oriented professional with nearly a decade of experience in senior management roles. Having started his career as a software engineer, critical thinking and problem solving have been on his forte, spearheading him towards Igniter Space, which he co-founded and executively operated for half a decade. Mr. Vijay Singha has a passion for product development, innovation, and strategy, which is evident through his startup, the Unicorn Factory, which testifies his expertise in mentorship, investment, and education. Mr. Jehan Vijay Singha, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, sir, and we look forward to learning from your vast experience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for that warm welcome and introduction, Ransika. So the next 1.5 hours, I hope we can learn some really interesting and new things. And as Ransika mentioned, we want to make this a very interactive session, and we want to make it one way. So I'll be sharing a lot of theories and frameworks that I have learned through practice. Try to see how these apply to you. All right. So today's topic is a very interesting one and something very, very close to me. We're going to talk about, it's actually a 2-part session conducted in 2 slots of 1.5 hours. And it's great that you are all here joining live with me for this program. So the topic of entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship, as Sansika mentioned, is not a buzzword. It is something very, very real. I became an entrepreneur when I was just 19 years of age. And when I became one, what I really did was I founded my own company. I actually didn't know this word entrepreneur then. I didn't know the word startup then. I didn't know the word innovation then. But now, these 3 words, innovation, entrepreneurship, startup, these are very, very common words in our vocabulary, and it's a great thing, meaning it is becoming more and more accessible to you all. You know, Sri Lanka is a developing country, right? And what do we need for Sri Lanka to accelerate its development? We need more and more innovative companies to be started. So there's a huge need for entrepreneurship all around, not just the country, but in the entire world. And for us, as the youth of the country, entrepreneurship is a great way of creating our own success, something which is in our control. Now, who is this session for? If you want to be an entrepreneur, ideally, this session is definitely for you. If you are already working as a professional in any industry, still, these concepts that I teach you is going to be very, very valuable to you in your day-to-day life. Nowadays, with the economy being very tough, we are always looking at extra ways to generate income. So entrepreneurship is a great way for you to do something extra and earn some money. And also, it's a great thing for those who of here want to build your own destinies, your own futures, something in your control, to have your own company. So this is about entrepreneurship, but we're not going to talk about the whole topic. There is a lot to talk about. What I'm going to talk to you today and over the next week is how to be successful or to ensure your success as an entrepreneur. So we'll talk a little bit about your entrepreneurship mindset, how to create that. And we'll also look at how to evaluate a startup ideas success, right? And we'll look at what are the areas you should be looking at when you're about to launch your own company. So, Ransika mentioned about me. As she said, I started my career as an engineer. For me, entrepreneurship was more than something I stumbled across. It was a huge passion. It's something that I really, really wanted to do. I told you I didn't know the word entrepreneur. What I really wanted was to have a company of my own, because I grew up in a very middle class family, and we had a lot of financial struggles when I was a child. And my mom started her own business. She started a very successful ladies' salon in Kandana. That's where I live. And through the business, she was able to uplift the entire family. And I saw although it was not exactly entrepreneurship, being a businesswoman, she basically completely transformed the family's future. So I saw that having my own business would give me that sort of a destiny. So that's why I was drawn towards entrepreneurship, and it led me to create my own company when I was 19 years of age. Company called Igniter Space, a robotics school for kids. Started it with just about 200,000 rupees, and as of last year, the company is valued at over 5 million US dollars. So it's a very big valuation in a 5 year, actually 5 years, 7 years period of time. So that's about me, and I've been mentoring a lot of entrepreneurs all around the country, and I do a lot of consulting for companies. So I have some experience in teaching you about this topic. It's a little bit about my portfolio, some of the companies I have founded and worked for. All right, let's get to it. Now, when you are an entrepreneur, right? What the first thing that we are going to talk about is the whole mindset of an entrepreneur. Now, an entrepreneur is not someone, I don't believe an entrepreneur is someone who is born. Now, as human beings, and as young people especially, when I say young, I don't mean a particular age as well. Young is actually, I think, a very state of mind. The fact that you are able to, take dynamic decisions and always look at improving and developing yourself. Now, when you are young and when you have that sort of positive thinking mindset, you are looking at ways to, be better, right? Achieve more. So, if you are to start thinking as an entrepreneur, there are certain things that you need to get your mind around. Now, there's no way I'm saying that entrepreneurship is the only way for you to be a successful person or build a successful career. There are multiple other ways. There are so many amazing multinational companies in Sri Lanka that you can work for. After COVID, we have remote working. So it doesn't even have to be a company in Sri Lanka. There's a lot of companies outside Sri Lanka offering jobs in Sri Lanka for you to work literally from home. And you can build a very successful career in these companies. You can earn millions and millions. And that's a great way to be successful. That's one way, though. You can also become a specialist, maybe a YouTuber, something that not necessarily an entrepreneur, but a specialist. Maybe a YouTuber and make money. You could become a musician. You could become an artist. You can become an actor. Now, it's a bit of a harder path, but that's also an option. And the third way is entrepreneurship. And there's multiple other ways, but let's look at the main ways. Entrepreneurship by creating something of your own. I often like entrepreneurship because of something that one of my mentors told me when I was very young. So when you're working for someone, right, when you're an employee in an organization, what you do is you will first, you have to work, right? You will work and then you will get money through a salary, right? And then what you will do is you will spend this salary on your expenses, right? Maybe for your travel, maybe for you to buy a laptop to pay your bills, maybe, right? And then you will run out of money, and then you have to go back to working. You'll make money, you will spend it, go back to work. Make money, yeah. So it's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle, never ending, because you can change the cycle a little bit by saving money, which sometimes is very hard to do. And more and you have to work more and more and more to make more and more money. That's generally how it is. But I'll tell you something different about entrepreneurship. You will work and you will make money, right? And then using your money, you will spend for your expenses, but you will save up a little bit of money for you to start your own company, right? And then you'll go back to working. You do a couple of those cycles, maybe a few years, and then you have just enough money to start your own company. Now, a company of your own, once it becomes successful, will make money for you when you are sleeping, right? It's just like buying an asset, right? Which is a different story. And even if you're sleeping, a successful company will make you money. So you're able to jump out of that loop, and it's something that you control. So that's something that I really, really liked. So as an entrepreneur, there are certain things that you need to adjust your mindset to. An entrepreneur doesn't have a 5-day work week. There's no 9 to 5, right? Where if there is work, you work. That's how it is. The harder you work, the higher the chances of you succeeding. There are no weekends, family vacations, right? Parties. I'm not saying you have to cut all of that. I certainly didn't cut everything, but there are sacrifices that you need to make. When you're an entrepreneur, your baby is your business. Your startup is everything. You have to work hard, no matter what, to make your startup successful. So as an entrepreneur, you need to develop that mindset if you are to be one. Entrepreneurship is not something easy. You may see in movies or through popular culture that sometimes, you say being an entrepreneur is cool. You're a CEO, right? You don't have to be you don't have any bosses. You don't have to wear, formal clothes. You don't have to go to an office. Yeah, that's all true. But the hard part is your self-discipline needs to be maintained by you, because that you don't have a boss, right? When it's your company, you don't have a boss, you don't have anyone to report to, at least not in the start, right? So when that's the case, there's nobody who's going to push you to do more work. You have to push yourself. That personal discipline is absolutely necessary. I know many entrepreneurs that don't have it, right? I'll give you a good example, say who it is or what the company is, but there's a company that I used to consult and mentor, a startup, and the company has so much of potential as a business. In fact, they're one of the most popular textile brands in Sri Lanka at one time. But the founder is very lazy. It's very hard. He only works a very short time during the day. The time he works, there's so much that so many great things he does, but he's not putting it out. He's lazy. So the business is suffering a lot because he's not putting his full effort. So I've seen so many entrepreneurs like that. So we call it opportunity loss, because opportunity that you can gain, you're not gaining it simply by not working hard enough. So this is a very basic thing, but that's something that you really need to develop, your personal discipline of your work ethic. You really need to do it as an entrepreneur. All right. So I'm going to scare you now a little bit. So when it comes to a startup success rate, the chances are low. It's the reality. About 90% of startups actually fail. Meaning, if you in your lifetime do 10 companies, only one may succeed. Now, I'm not saying this is always the case, right? But the odds of a company succeeding is low, and especially in a country like Sri Lanka, where there are so many other factors that affect a business. And not only Sri Lanka, anywhere you go, you start a company in Australia or Singapore or the US or Europe, right? As a new company, there are so many things that could go wrong, right? Because starting and building a company is not a very easy thing to do. Therefore, there is this process that I'm going to teach you all today, which would where you can have better chances of success. How you do that is doing a comprehensive analysis on your startup idea before you go ahead and launch it. We call this startup validation. All right. So startup validation is to make sure, or an analysis you do to increase the chance of your success. Now look at this. Out of the 90% of startups that fail, 10% will fail within the first year, right? Most, and the first year generally very less failures because you are very excited, right? If the company runs out of money, you will put money yourself or borrow some money and keep it running, because when you start a company, everyone, it's so very exciting, right? There is nothing, no other feeling for me that is more joyous than that, when you launch something new, that anticipation of whether it would work, and you are so excited about the product. So your first year is generally smooth, not too rough. But the real situation starts to sink in during the second, third years. So you can see the statistic. 70% of these companies fail in the second and third years, right? And most of the failure reason is because of no market demand, right? Meaning, now, whatever company you launch, how do you make money? By selling, by sales, right? That's the basic, right? Any company, for you to succeed, you need to have a good sale. You need to have good sales. So in most cases, if you don't do that market analysis first, meaning if you don't do analysis to figure out if you have a market for your startup idea first, this could be a big issue. And the second one, another big reason is because of running out of money. Simple again, but a very, very common thing. Your improper financial analysis. So that's again something that a lot of founders mistake. Not I won't even call it a mistake. They do it wrong. When you start a new company, you need to do a very in-depth financial analysis, and I'll teach you during these 2 days how to do that. And then, of course, the team, the founders' problems, right? The team's problems. Maybe you're starting a company with a bunch of others. Problems with this team, issues that may come, is another reason for failure. There's so many other reasons, but these are just very few. So that's why startup validation is there, right? Startup validation is there for you to have better chances of succeeding. You all want to have better chances of success, right? Now, let's assume you're going abroad, you're going to Singapore, and there are 5 aircraft, say 3 planes are there in the airport, right? And aircraft A will tell you there is a 50% chance of you going to Singapore safely. And the second one will say there is a 10% chance you go safely. And the other one will say you have an 80% chance of going there safely, right? Which one would you choose? You will obviously not choose the 10% one, because you will choose the aircraft which has the best chance for you to succeed, you to safely go, which is the 80% one. Now, airlines will not tell you that. They will say it's of course safe. But when it comes to building a startup, you can never have 100% surety that it's going to succeed, which is why I said 80%, right? So you want to make your chances at least, I can't give a percentage on that, but very high, as high as possible, before you go ahead and launch. Or in this case, before you get inside the aircraft and before the aircraft flies to the air, you want to make sure that, right, there is very good chance of you surviving and being successful. So that's what startup validation is, right? It's simply like this. You guys go in, you're like put inside an aircraft, a Cessna, and you're like taken to 10,000 feet. And then they're going to push you off the aircraft. You have to check that your parachute works before you jump, obviously. What's going to happen otherwise? It's a pretty big nightmare, right? So it's like that. Why I'm comparing this startup validation is it's as dangerous as this. Because imagine, right? You run your company for multiple, you start, create something very hard. You put your time, you will put your money, right? Find money and you start something, right? Not to fail, because if it fails, it's going to waste a lot of your time, your money, resources, all of that, right? So it's just like you landing on the ground without a parachute, right? So you want to make sure that the parachute works before you jump. So by this, what I mean is, before you start your company or start being an entrepreneur, you make sure there is a very high chance for that startup idea to work, right? So these are some of the questions you are trying to answer when you're validating your startup idea, right? Will this idea work? Will I fail miserably with this startup idea? Does my idea work? Can I build a successful business with this idea? Can I make money by building this startup, right? Will I get into trouble if I do this startup? Can I be a successful entrepreneur by building a company using this idea? So these are some of the, is it worth doing this, right? These are some of the things that some of the questions you may answer, right? So startup validation is pretty much the answer for all these questions. All right. So this is the definition. Again, you don't need a definition. You all understand it, I hope. Evaluating and analyzing if you can build a successful company with your startup idea. That's simply what startup validation is. Now let's talk about how. Now, how do you measure a company's success? Any company, not just a startup, any company, right? Maybe you're talking about a very small startup, or maybe you're talking about something like John Keats or whatever, large company. Any company's success. And this is 5 areas that I think and is proven that how you can measure any company's success, right? One is the income potential. And I'll talk about each of these things. Second is the profit potential. Third is the competitive potential or competitive space. Fourth is the industry space. And fifth is the growth potential. Right? Look at these words: income, profit, competition or competitive space, industry, and growth potential. Right? Let's talk about each of these. Right? Now, income potential is the ability of your company to make money, make an income, right? Then we have something called the revenue. Let's assume you have a shop that sells kolakanta. I'll teach you the basics, right? You have a shop that sells kolakanta, and each kolakanta is 100 rupees, and you sell 10 kolakandas every day. What is your daily revenue, right? Your revenue, or we call it the income as well. Now let's talk about, so income potential is simply said, is your company able to generate revenue, right? Meaning, does your company have a market? Is there customers who are willing to buy your product, right? How big are these customers? Meaning, how much of customers do you have? How much of potential you have in terms of your maximum revenue you can create? These are, through this, you can figure out how much money I can make by running this or starting this company. We'll learn about this in detail, right? This is just explaining what these are. Second thing we call the profit potential. Now, profit potential is, I'll give you that example again. Imagining each kolakanda costs you 20 rupees, right? Okay. What is your profit today? The price is 100 rupees. You sell 10,000 is your revenue. Your cost is 20 rupees per kolakanda and you sell 10. So your total cost is 200 rupees. Meaning your profit, labha, is 800 exactly. Is 800 rupees is profit, right? So for those who don't know what profit is, that's what profit is. And by doing a profit potential, what you're saying is your startup idea profitable? Because no matter what, let's assume your kolakanda stand, it costs you 80 rupees to make a. So now this way, let's assume you sell 100 kolakanda a day. Right? Now let's be realistic. Let's say you sell 50 a day. You get 5,000 rupees in terms of income. And in terms of profit, you would get 4,000 rupees. Am I right? 50 times 100 is 5,000 minus cost 20 times 50 is 1000. So profit is 4000. Yeah. So 4000 daily, let's say you open this stand for 20 days. You will make 80,000 rupees profit. The profit is what matters. The profit is what you can take home. Right? Revenue you can't. You have your expenses. Right? So now, okay, I see that, okay, look, okay, there is potential. I can make 80,000 from this. But let's assume your Kolakanda costs 80 rupees to make. Then what is your profit, daily profit? If your Kolakanda is 80 rupees cost, revenue is 5,000, cost is 4,000, profit is 1,000. Right? You make 1,000 rupee profit a day, and for the month, you will only make 20,000 rupees. So not very profitable. You don't make much money. It's still profitable, but you don't make enough money, right? For you to be happy with that business or get any value of that business. So that's why we do a profit potential analysis. We see how much of profit. So first thing we check is if it's profitable, right? First thing we check is if your new business is profitable. And the second thing is how much of profit does it make, right? We'll learn about this in detail. I'm giving you a high level. Third is a very simple one, competitive space. In your industry, how competitive is this? By the way, I actually consulted for one of my students, actually had a Kolakanda stand in Kotugoda, very successful one. Now did have, still has, very, very entrepreneurial guy, right? He works full time as a software engineer, and part time he has his own Kolakanda business, not just a stand. He has a nice shop in Kotugoda, very successful. I'm telling you, even with the simplest of business ideas, you can build something and become an entrepreneur. You don't have to have Facebook ideas, like, meaning like idea like Facebook or Tesla or crazy. I mean, there's nothing called crazy ideas. I'm sorry for that, but you know, even with something very simple, you can create something. You can create a business, right? But you need to, even for the simple Kolak understand, all this analysis was very, very important for him to make that business successful. Competitive space, he would check who are my other competitors in this area, right? What sort of products do they have, right? Does my product have a advantage, or is the competition too much? So should I maybe change the place I sell it, or should I change the product I sell there, or should I just completely give up this idea because it's too competitive and I can't survive? So competitive space analysis is important. Fourth is the industry trend. Now here, you have to look at the industry you're launching this business into. A good example is, you never know when industries change. Let's assume before COVID, right? You launched a tourism company, right? COVID came, all these tourism companies failed because the industry was completely crashed. So I always recommend, when someone builds a new business, study that industry you're in and see how it has been in the past and what positive or negative trends it has in the future. Example, you're launching a business in healthcare. Look at how the healthcare industry in Sri Lanka has improved or decreased, right? Or deteriorated. Are people spending more money for healthcare or less money? So maybe there's a problem with that whole industry. So you have to do an industry analysis, important when you launch a company. And the final thing is growth potential. Here, now nobody entrepreneur that I know, and that's another part of that entrepreneurial mindset I was talking about, wants to stop at some place. Meaning, when they're building that company, no entrepreneur wants to say, okay, for me, okay, let's take Ignite Space. My company, when I started, I didn't say I am okay with one branch, right? 1,000 students, enough. I'll make 2 million a month. That's enough. I mean, the company will have 2 million. No, entrepreneurs think that. I say, I want to go all around the country. I want to have 100 branches. I want to go overseas. I want to have branches in India, in Bangladesh, in Europe, in the US. I want I want it to be $1 billion company, not a million rupee company. Entrepreneurs have that big growth vision. That's what separates an entrepreneur from just a businessman. And this is maybe a good time for me to talk to you about the difference. Entrepreneur is fundamentally a businessman. But a businessman, if you take who a businessman is, a businessman or woman is someone who buys something, keeps a margin, and sells it, or will provide a service and make money off it. Examples: a shop, right? You start your own shop or a supermarket or a laundry, or you would start maybe a buying and selling business, right? Entrepreneurship, you will become an entrepreneur even as a shop owner or a laundry owner or buying and selling business, whatever. You can still be an entrepreneur. That mindset is what's important. You are doing this business not just to earn your day-to-day money. You're doing this or building this company for it to be a big company which have great potential of growth, right? That is what is different from an entrepreneur. And the other thing is, entrepreneur always try to do something new, right? Innovative, right? Because when you do something innovative, right, you have more chance of grabbing a new market, right? There's so many concepts, business concepts around this, but simply said, an entrepreneur wants to have growth, right? So you analyze and see whether this new company that you're trying to launch have the potential to grow beyond what you initially planned, right? Which of future reading. And here's the thing, no, we can never read the future. Yeah, you and I are not astronomers or astrologers or whoever that is, right? And we don't have the car from Back to the Future. Have you watched a movie where this you can travel to the future? We don't have a future reading machine, right? What do financial consultants and business consultants do? They look at data and information and they predict things which happen in the future. Essentially, that's what you are doing too. You are predicting what can happen in the future for my business, whether I'll make money, whether I'll make profit or not, whether there'll be lots of competition or is there a competitive advantage for me, whether I can grow this business or it will be the same size, right? What will happen to the industry, my business in? Will it be better and have more opportunities or will the industry crash? These are all things that you have to answer initially when you're looking at launching a company. I've been an employer and an employee both. And being in both sides of the spectrum gives me so much of insights on how a company works, right? So if you're working somewhere at the moment, it may be you may feel very frustrated sometimes. You're making money as a career, but sometimes you may feel like you are limited. There's more that you can do. Just remember, guys, all of you, that I'm not here to give you a motivational or inspirational speech. That's not my session here today. But I'm saying how great entrepreneurship is if you do it right. Right? You need to be able to properly analyze everything you do. It's a science and it's an art, both combined to one, right? And trust me, lots of people say, what is the biggest challenge when you want to be an entrepreneur? Lots of people say, no, they don't say, I don't have a startup idea. Lots of them have one, which is a good thing. But the problem is they haven't validated it. That's something they can do themselves. It doesn't cost you any money to do this once you know how to do it. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. And I don't, I have so much, I do this sort of sessions all around the country. And I try to share this knowledge as much as I can. But that's not what lots of people say. What lots of people say is, I don't have enough money to start a company. I agree. You need capital to start a new startup. But I myself, I don't want to compare, but still, even if I earn, let's say I earn 1 million or whatever it is, I still like to start companies from very ground up, meaning with very minimal investment. I've started companies with 10,000 rupees, right? I'm not saying it's easy. If you have 100,000 or 1 million, you may have been able to start that company much faster or in a bigger way, But still, even with 10,000 rupees, you can start somewhere and you can gradually improve your business. Example, if you want to start a home-based craft, right, maybe your vision is to create a shop that sells handmade wooden toys, right? Let's say toys for kids. Maybe you don't have to think about the fact, think of raising money to have a factory and employ people and all of that. Maybe think about doing it yourself at home, by gathering materials. So starting small, you can do much more wonders than waiting for a large capital to be accumulated, right? This is another tip I wanted to share with you. I told you this program, there is a structure, but throughout I'll be sharing little tips. So which is why it's important for you to stay attentive throughout the program, because reading the slide deck, you won't get these things. Cool. Let's talk about how to do these analyses. And this week we are going to look at the first one, which is the income potential analysis, right? So income potential analysis, we are looking at if the company can make money, simply said. Now there are a few steps you need to follow to do this, right? Now the first step is to simply identify where the revenue stream is. What is this revenue model? And it seems like a simple answer, but it depends from business to business. And I'll take some examples and show you. We already talked about this, but I have this on screen for anyone who is not aware of this. Remember, when I started my first company, I had zero business studies knowledge, business knowledge, no financial knowledge, no economics knowledge, no whatever commerce knowledge. So everything I learned by myself. I'm an engineer. I studied science since I was a kid. I've been a coder since I was 8 years of age. All the business knowledge that I got were by practice. And that's why I created this Unicorn Factory YouTube channel. You can go anytime and learn so much more than what I'm going to tell you today. But every session that I do it in a way that anyone can understand. You may be a business studies graduate, or maybe you are already working in, as executive. Doesn't matter. Everything is here from scratch, so you all can ground yourself and learn these concepts. So here, your profit is a deduction of the expenses from revenue, right? So what a goal of any business is to increase the profit. You ask any entrepreneur, any founder, any company owner, they will never say we want less profits, right? They will all want more profits. Now, there are variations of this. Example, in your first year in a company, you don't chase behind profits generally. This is more advanced, advanced concept. It's a more of advanced concept I'm sharing here, but I feel it's fine to share with you all because you're a more matured audience. Not always we go behind profit. For example, the first year we go more towards making a larger footprint than the profit. Like for example, with my companies as well, first year was not profitable. That's fine because we were spending more money to expand the business. So profits were low, but that's fine because profits would start coming, accumulating later on. But generally, what you need to target for is high profits. And to do this, there are two ways. One is to increase revenue, one is to decrease your expenses. Now, decreasing expenses is not easy. I mean, it is once you cut down the unnecessary things, and it seems like a simple thing, but I have to teach this to people because I remember another company I consulted, they got an investment, they got an office and started hiring people, got their expenses through the roof, ended up with less profitability and lost all of their investment and went bankrupt. So very juvenile mistakes, but you have to keep your expenses low as an entrepreneur. When you're starting a new company, you can't have a flashy office or take a high salary and have all these benefits that you get working for an organization. So like you have insurance or any of those, you don't have those benefits. In fact, I went into work for an organization after more than 7 years after I started my company. And when I went there, I was surprised not by the salary, but by the benefits that a company gives, like insurance and whatnot, allowances. You don't get those things as an entrepreneur. That's the reality. As I said, being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's tough and you have to make sacrifices. Because look, here's the thing. You may be making a lot of money, right? But you try to give it to the people, meaning you, what I mean is not being Robin Hood, but you try to spend your money where you can get value to the business. Example, if I'm able to pay myself 500,000 rupees, I would rather take 200,000 rupees and hire three very experienced or mildly experienced, maybe a finance manager and a marketing manager and maybe a great salesman, right? Three people, three others, and give them 100,000 salary each, right? Because I know those three people will add more value to the business, right? So you get the point, right? So you reduce your expenses as much as possible. You have to optimize your expenses, but wherever you have to spend, you have to spend. So more than the expenses, the thing that I recommend entrepreneurs to control and go after is the revenue. Now, this also differs from business models, and we'll talk about this in the future. But this is what you're going to strive for. Okay. Now, before we go there, I have to make this distinguishment between these two categories of companies. We have a category called product companies and we have a category called service companies. Product companies are companies that manufacture their own products and sell, right? Could be maybe you may have a brand of a hot sauce, or maybe you're making your own handmade soap. Maybe you have a tech product, software that helps companies to find talent or hire people, or a software that helps you to manage your projects. This is also a product. And the second type of companies is service companies. Service companies provide a service for a fee. Example, maybe you are having a digital marketing agency or a software company or a branding agency or a content writing agency, or maybe you may have me having a laundry that you give a service of washing clothes, or you may have a salon where you give services of hair cutting or facial therapy or whatever. Sorry. So that's all. That's the second category of companies, the service companies, right? So these are some examples, right? Product companies, maybe you have you're manufacturing an electric bike and selling them, right? We have a startup in Sri Lanka that does that, multiple actually. Or you may be making a home-based jam, or maybe you're making a robotic kit for kids, like what I did, or a software like this, right? And then you have the service companies. Example, a graphic design agency or a software firm, a salon or a waste management company, right? These are examples. Why am I saying these things? Because you may have an idea to come up with a product company or a service company. Doesn't matter. I want to make sure that what I teach will apply to all of you. That's why I'm taking examples from both these categories. So first thing is you have to identify what is the revenue stream, right? That's what you're trying to do. Identifying the revenue stream, if you remember. How do you make money? This is what the revenue stream means. Product company is very simple. That's basically the revenue or the money you get by selling, manufacturing and selling these products. Example, electric bike companies revenue stream is revenue generated by manufacturing and selling bikes. A jam company's revenue stream is revenue generated by cooking and selling various jams. You get the point, right? Or if you take the hiring platform, which is a little bit different, the revenue generated by selling the software built to companies through a subscription fee or whatever. This is your income stream of a product company. If I ask you, what is your income stream? You explain your startup idea to me. I ask you, what is your income stream? It's a very simple answer you can give. What I expect is, how are you making money? Right? Sometimes when I go to startup competition, people will come and pitch their ideas, take minutes and maybe a long time, but they are unable to explain to me how they're making money. Not for me, an idea is not interesting at all unless they tell me how they're making money, right? Because otherwise, what is it, right? If you are unable to show how, or if you are able to identify the proper way to generate revenue, what's the point of creating a company, right? So, example, like some would say, some good ideas. Maybe they say, we want to create a solution where people can track a train and how you are doing it. And I'll give you a good idea, which doesn't have a business model. If you can find a business model, here I'm giving you an idea for free to the whole class. And I'll give you this idea, figure out if there is a revenue stream, because I certainly couldn't so far. This is a concept I developed when I didn't actually develop it, I don't want to lie. It was a team effort. When I was I think about 16 years of age, I went to this hackathon, and we had this idea to. Now, if you are in the train, if you are traveling by train, I used to travel by train for lots of many years when I was going to university. One of the biggest problems I have is Sri Lankan trains are very late sometimes, right? And you want to get to your lectures on time, or you want to go to work on time, right? There's no way in Sri Lanka that you can track a train real time. There's no way in Sri Lanka you can track a train in real time. Meaning, like, you can't go to the train station and see where is my train. Look at the phone and say, ah, okay, I'm in Khandan, I live in Khandan. So I can't look and say, now it has, uh, departed from Jaya and it's on the way. I don't have that information. So I have to go and stay until the train comes. Don't know if it's in Nigambo or Sidu or all the way in Putla. I don't know until it comes. So we came up with this solution. We made a mobile app. And how we are tracking it is not by putting GPS trackers in trains. Here's the thing, that would be the ideal solution. And this is another tip I'm going to share with you while I'm telling you this story. When you're coming up with a startup idea, remember there are great ideas that sometimes you can't execute because it's not practical. That is the first thing you need to realize. The idea should be practically viable. Because here's the thing, right? I'm not saying putting GPS in trains is not practical. It is, but how are you going to do that? Right? Are you going to give these to all the trains in Sri Lanka for free? Because if you are going to get the government to purchase it, it's not going to be easy. You have to convince the government to go ahead with this project, go for procurement, they will call for bidders, and trust me, it's not easy. So your solution may be great, but if it's not practical, it doesn't matter. A side tip I gave you. Anyway, continuing with our idea. So our idea was not to do the GPS thing because we figured that, look, it's not practical. We can't install GPS in every single train. Instead, now there are people going in the train with their mobile data on. Back then, when I was 16, it was still very long ago. Mobile technology wasn't as adopted as it is now. Especially now, if we do it, it will really work because everybody has that data on every time. And if you take a train with 5,000 people, do you think at least one person will have the data on? Definitely, right? There's forget one person. At least I'm assuming at least 2,000 people will have their data on out of the 5,000. They'll be listening to songs or browsing Facebook. So what we did was you install this app called CoTrain. You came up with the name on your phone, and this app you'll give your GPS permission for that. That's only to be used on CoTrain, nowhere else. That will transmit the data of where this train is, meaning where you are. So you have to enter the information of the trains that you take, right? Let's say I'm taking like the 6:55 train every day. I insert that information, and when I go to the station, I can go and see, okay, where is this train? 6:55 train is in Jaya. How this data comes through the GPS of someone in that train. So we call this crowdsourcing data. But the deal is, this is a great idea, but there is no revenue model or income stream we identified for this app. How are we going to get? Will people pay money and download this app? Highly unlikely that people will pay money and download, because for crowdsourcing to work, we need thousands of users using the app, and not in just one train. We need them using it all over. So if we make it paid, if we make the user to pay money, there's very high chance of people not getting it. So we really couldn't find an income source. So that idea was shut down just like that. We developed the app as a concept for a hackathon, and it was very nice. We won that competition too. So if you can make a way of making it work, I'm giving this idea for you all free. You can go ahead and do it. But again, that's a problem. What I wanted to raise by that example is, it doesn't matter how good the idea is, it has to have an income stream. Okay, so some example again on the examples of service businesses. Let's say we talked about the product businesses, services. Let's say you have a graphic design agency. How do you make money? Your revenue by providing graphic designing services. Maybe you have a software firm, revenue generated by developing software projects for clients. Salon, revenue generated by providing hair and beauty care services for clients. Again, another tip: you can innovate existing industries to come up with startup ideas. Take the salon industry, for example. I'm I know about this industry a lot because my mom had her salon, and the salon's name is also my name, Salon Jahans. The first ever ladies exclusive salon in Kandahar. It's been there for 15 years now. I know about this industry quite a lot. And that industry as a whole has not received any sort of innovation over the last, I don't know, 15 years that I've seen. No innovation, right? So there's so many solutions that you can look at, that you can innovate existing traditional industries and create exciting new companies. Example, you have a beautician on demand. Like, one of the biggest issues that I have is going to a salon. I hate it. I mean, it's ironic, but I hate going to a salon and cutting my own hair. It's just a waste of time, and I hate going there, staying in line, sitting and waiting. They're cutting the hair. I have to come home, wait. The whole body is itching until I come home. I hate to do it. Even right now, I am in need of haircut. There's literally a salon like next door, like literally there, but I don't want to go there and do it. I hate it. It's a waste of time. That's what I think. What if there was a solution? Maybe you can get like a beautician on demand. They'll come to your house, cut your hair, do and there's no issue. They bring all the equipment, done deal, and you don't need. It can be a marketplace like Uber. Just an idea, but there is problems in that. But I'm just saying that there's no innovations done in that field. Not only that field, there are multiple other industries that need innovation. A good example of innovation put into a traditional industry would be laundries. Look at laundry industry, how it has been innovated. It started as laundries have been existing for hundreds and hundreds of years. Back in the villages, there used to be these ready nandas, right? Who would come to your house, get the clothes, and they'll wash them for you. They'll go to the lake or river and they'll wash it and come, right? In Sri Lanka, it has been there for hundreds of years. And then it evolved, and I don't know anything in the middle, but we have laundries where you can go, give your clothes, they'll wash it, press it, clean it, charge you a fee for it. And then they came up with this next innovation, which is, and I think Laundromat did this first, where they will come, take the stuff from you, go wash it and bring, right? That was the second sort of innovation cycle that happened with laundry. So you don't have to go anywhere. You call them, they'll come, they'll get the stuff, they'll go wash it and come and give it to you. And then there was another problem with that. What was it? That it took time because they have to take the stuff, they wash it and come back. And the third cycle was mobile laundries, meaning there would be lorries with the fitted washing machines and whatnot. They'll come, they'll wash your clothes then and there, they'll give it to you and go. You have to dry it yourself, but that was another solution. So there are another tip I want to share with you all here today is uh, for you to generate a startup idea, you can also think around the lines of innovating traditional industries, right? Trust me, there is so much of things that can be done. A lot of something I hear very often is there are no startup ideas. Everything is already done. There's nothing remaining for us. That's not true. Uh, if you do an exercise like go ahead and study the startups in other countries like Singapore. Funny enough, with everything going on, Israel actually has a very vibrant startup culture, meaning there are so many innovative companies in Israel. It's going through a war these days, unfortunately. But what I do is Egypt, another example, very, very vibrant startup ecosystem, so many new innovative companies. I even to this day, I always research and see what sort of new companies have come out of these countries, new startups, and it's very, very, very exciting concepts. That things that we can easily do here in Sri Lanka. So there is no lack of startup ideas. You just need to go ahead and look out there. Okay, let's carry on. So your first step, identifying your revenue stream. You also, it's a good time for me to teach you about this differentiator, B2B versus B2C. You can, as a business, sell to other businesses, or you, as a business, can sell to consumers, right? Meaning, let's assume you are an agency, a software development agency. You are developing an app for, let's say, Dilma, the tea company, to do tea deliveries. So you as a business is selling something to another business. Or maybe you're manufacturing industry air conditioners and you are selling them to an industry, you're selling them to a hotel, you're selling them to Hilton or Galadhan or to Cinnamon Brand. As a business, you're selling to a business. B2C is a little bit different. As a business, you sell directly to end user, to a customer, to individual. Example, you make homemade jams and you sell directly to customers who will buy it and eat it. Or you make an electric bike and you sell it directly to people who will buy it and ride it. So that's the difference between B2C and B2B. If I ask you, are you a B2B company or a B2C company? Now you should be able to answer. Now remember, you can have multiple income streams. And this is very, very recommended for you as new entrepreneurs. Because it's like this. Assume, if I tell you, would you like to only get your monthly salary? Or would you like to get your monthly salary? And would you like to get an allowance? Would you like to get a car? Would you like to get an insurance? You would say yes, right? More the merrier. And not just that, forget about that example. As a company, right, there are chances that one income stream may fail. In that case, you need to have backup income streams. I'll give you a real world example. Now, with my company, Ignite Space, I ran robotics, so still there, robotics sessions for kids in physical uh, workshops or physical, what we call the maker spaces. And then the problem was that with physical maker spaces, kids have to come there to do it, right? So only the parents who are willing to bring their children to the maker space or physically can be my customer. So what I did was I came up with another business model or another income stream where, okay, so the first option was kids coming to the space. There is a course, they can register the course and they can do the course. Second model I came up with this, I came up with a kit, a robo kit. If they order it, I deliver it to their house and they can do it by themselves. So completely new business model. It's a different income stream. And then I also created something called online innovation program, where now if you want help from us, you can join our course online. So I will send you all the stuff, but you're still join that course, but you don't have to come at home. Set up your workspace, you will have all the stuff, and you can do it. So that is the third model I created. Now, what happened? COVID came, and then we had to shut down everything. Right? We had to shut down all our spaces, everything. We were working from home, right? We couldn't do anything. So guess what? No issues. Why? I wouldn't say no issues. Obviously, there was an issue because one of the main income streams completely collapsed because there was lockdowns. We couldn't open the spaces. Kids can't travel. But still, we had a home online program. So the effect to the company was very less than if we only had one income stream. This is just a real world practice scenario, but there's so many issues that could happen if you rely on one income stream. Example, let's assume there's a service company called Bakes by Jehan. There's no company, I just made it up. There's where Jehan makes different stuff at home, bake stuff. I can have a B2C model where one option is I have a cafe, open up some physical space where I sell stuff B2C, make different pastries and cakes and sell it to people who come. That's one income stream. I can also have another income stream where I do catering. Meaning what I'll do is I can do B2C and B2B both. Meaning for your kid's birthday party, I'll come and I'll do catering. Meaning I'll give you a cake and pastries and rolls. Or for your company's event, I can also do that. So B2C or B2B. Another income stream. Or three, a product. I can do a Christmas treat box. For Christmas times, I make a small box with cookies and stuff and I sell it online and in some stores. Maybe I put it to Food City also. So this is the type of multiple income streams you can think of when you are building a company. It's really, really important. The second thing, so first thing we did was you identified remember what we are doing. We are looking at your income potential. We first identified a revenue stream. Second, now we have to figure out what is this business model that you are in. Now, business model is, remember, in a business, there are so many different moving parts. What you basically do is you will manufacture something and you will sell it to the client, or you will provide a service using your expertise. In doing this, there are so many different aspects of the business that will need to work together. Example, your manufacturing, maybe your employee management, your supply chain, your logistics, your human resources, financial element, right? Marketing element, sales element, all these departments and different moving parts need to work smoothly for your business to function. There are ready-made, inbuilt, and proven frameworks that you can base your business around. We call these business models, right? This is a combination of all of this. Now take a look at this slide. All these different departments or elements working together will define a business model. We'll look at some examples of business models, and I use examples you know, so you can figure it out. Retailer model. In this retailer model, what you do is you don't manufacture anything, right? You don't manufacture anything. You provide, what you do is you will buy stuff from manufacturers, right? And you would provide it for customers to purchase. You don't manufacture anything. You just buy stuff from already made, already existing manufacturers, and you provide this platform for people to buy. This is what you see example in a supermarket or even in a handi kade retailer, right? You don't manufacture anything. They will have, so if you go to Food City, they will have, you know, um, let's say sausages from maybe Bairaha or Gills. They'll have sauces from Edinburgh, Kist, MD, whatnot. They'll have, I can't name all the stuff inside the supermarket. Right. So this is the first model that I want to talk to you about. I'll go through this really quickly. Second is a manufacturer model. Simple to understand. This is where you build stuff and you sell it. You can sell it directly to customers, or you can sell it to a retailer or someone called a distributor. A distributor is it's not someone who sells to customers, but will sell to retailers. Right? So something you probably maybe you don't know is, let's say Edinburgh, right? Edinburgh is the largest sauce manufacturer in Sri Lanka. They have the largest market share, not KISS, not MD, not Edinburgh. So Edinburgh doesn't directly go and sell to Kills. They will sell to a distributor. A distributor will buy in bulk and they will distribute it not just to the Kills or supermarket. They'll also put it in the shops, right? So anyway, this is the or Damro, for example. Damro doesn't have distributors. They actually do. They have they sell in some stores, but mostly they have their own stores, manufacture goods, and they sell it. Something interesting about Damro, side fact, Damro is actually, it's known to be a large brand in Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka is like 10% of the entire market. Did you know that Damro's market is actually India? They started in Nitambur, right? And majority of the market is in not Nitambur, sorry, in India. It's a very successful company and very it's a great Sri Lankan brand. So anyway, side note. And also another thing I want to share about Damro is an interesting model that they do. If you go to Damro and let's say you want to buy a cupboard or a chair, you can't buy it on the spot. And you sometimes it finds annoying because you wanted to take the cupboard home. But the reason is they don't keep any excess inventory. They will manufacture for you. The factory is always working. You order this chair, they'll send the order to the factory within the next few days or maybe a week, you'll get it. So it's manufactured for orders, meaning there is no wastage. They don't keep a manufactured inventory. So something that I find interesting about Damro. Okay, so fee for service is another business model. This is completely a service industry or service type of company business model. Simple to understand. This is my mom's salon. You provide a service and you get a fee for that based on the usage of stuff or the number of hours you provided, or it could be a fixed cost. Maybe let's say haircutting is $1,000, or dressing is $2,000. Like mostly it is fixed cost based on the different type of services. Or if you go to Auto Mirage and you want to get your car service, if it's a smaller car, it's 10K, or a bigger car, it's 15K, whatever. They'll have it fixed. Or laundromat, you want to wash a shirt, it's 500 rupees. You want to wash a trouser, it's this amount. So fee for service is a business model for service companies. Subscription is another type of business model, which is basically now I'm only talking about very high level, but if you dig deep about these business models, the way the supply chain, the way all of this is structured is unique to all of this, right? Based on what you select, you can dig deep and see how they're connected. Anyway, subscription is simple. It's mostly for digital products, but it could also be for physical products. Netflix, for example, you pay a monthly fee to get access to that service. Or in Sri Lanka, we don't have that much, but not actually very less. But you could in a lot of different countries, there's this concept called subscription boxes. Yeah, I'm giving you another startup idea, right? Subscription boxes is not done in Sri Lanka much. I would say I don't know any successful subscription box company, right? So, for example, there is a subscription box for wine in Australia. The company that I know, where you will say you will pay, let's say, 10,000 rupees a month, and you will get a box of wine every month. Different types of wines: a red wine, a white wine, and a rose wine. Different types. You don't know what you're getting, but every month you'll get it, right? And you can subscribe for, let's say, 3 months or 6 months for 1 year. Similarly, there are so many concepts. So just search subscription boxes. You'll see so many of these. Or you have like a simple thing that exists in Sri Lanka. There is subscription for magazines and stuff. So you can buy a subscription and every month you get it. Oh, for example, I forgot, gyms. A gym is a good example of a subscription business model, right? You get a subscription. You go to you call it the membership, right? You can get it for 3 months, or you can get it for 6 months, or you can pay daily, right, or a year. So that's another good example of subscription business model. Marketplace, very popular model, especially with internet businesses, with tech products, where marketplace is a technical business model, meaning you provide the technical marketplace, right? The platform. You don't have buyers, you don't interface directly with the buyers or the sellers. You just provide the tech platform where sellers can come, buyers can come, they're connected, and they can transact their services. So like PickMe, for example. PickMe doesn't own any restaurants, right? Or Airbnb, you have seen that, right? Lots of places. Airbnb doesn't have any hotels or guest houses. Uber doesn't have any cars or drivers. So it's just a platform that provides the interface. Pay as you go, again, mostly for sometimes for product companies, sometimes for service companies. But example, it's based on the usage, like the Ceylon electricity board, or if you take like a prepaid package, you will pay based on your usage. Like, sorry, not a prepaid, like a prepaid package. Or like if you rent like a vehicle rental, based on the number of days you rent it, you will pay. So I'm going to stop for today because we are having another session next week. But I want you all to think about these examples that I shared with you, right? And try to see how you can apply these things, right? When you come up with a startup idea, in figuring out your income potential, you should be able to figure out, right, what is my income stream? What is my business model, right? And what sort of company I am? Right? These are really important questions to answer. And when you put all of these things together, you'll be able to have a good understanding of, does my idea have a potential to make income, right? So I hope you learned something new today. I highly encourage you all to join the next session too. Before we wrap up, I'm going to open up for questions if you have any. You need to join the next session because we're going to talk about all of these four next week. We took some time for the introduction today, but next week we'll be able to cover these other areas as well. Trust me, when you go through this couple of sessions, you'll be much better equipped to be an entrepreneur than you were before. I guarantee it. And I created this curriculum not just for you. This, sorry, you're not that special. This curriculum is well tested. So many entrepreneurs have gone through this program and been successful. So for me, I love teaching. I love mentoring people, but what I really love is to see new businesses starting and becoming successful. So I really hope you will use all these things that I learn, that I teach you, in a positive way to impact your own entrepreneurial success.